So yeah, the question, how often do I need to be having heart combos? And I think people should be having heart combos every day, but I think what is happening is people think, but heart combos are heavy and draining and long and depressing and about my trauma and pertaining to conflict and vulnerability and just all of the things. And so I almost feel like over the last 2 years of creating content, I might have created not a stigma, but like this idea that like, oh, heart convos are only about hard, heavy things. Um, to the tagline that I have, it's not a hard conversation, it's a hard conversation. It really is to counter people's perspective about going into conversations that may be difficult by challenging to do things that are uncomfortable. Be honest, address the elephant in the room, show up as your most authentic self. Like people don't feel the freedom to do that. So the tagline, it's not a hard conversation, it's a hard conversation, is intentional, right? In that way. However, I think people now think, oh, well, hard convos are only these types of conversations. And so I would then push back on that and say, well, even in a lighthearted conversation about, hey, how you doing? How's your day? People don't even feel the freedom to be honest. So that has nothing to do with your trauma. It just has to do with the fact that you don't feel the freedom to be who you are. You know, you want to send somebody a meme. You thought about doing it. Then you didn't send it because you thought, oh, they might not think this is funny. So I don't want to like put myself out there like that. I might feel some kind of way. So in my mind, I'm like, it's not just about hard, heavy, traumatic things. Right. It could be like heart combos are your everyday conversations. And I would actually say that the everyday heart combo that people are having are like, are like huge. Like people don't realize that they're having very basic heart combos every day about when they say, hey, how you doing? Hey, can you run to the store and get me something? Or right. I miss you. I love you. Like asking somebody to go do you a favor is expressing need, that you need something and you want them to help meet that need. That is a very vulnerable thing to do. It's about going to the store, maybe picking up some milk, but either way, that is a hard combo, right? Asking somebody like, hey, what you doing? Is an expression of interest and desire. You get what I'm saying? Like, to which that person can completely be like, minding my business. To which you could be like, okay, you know, it could make you feel some kind of way. So just the everyday conversations I think we have, again, with the expression of our feelings towards people, or sending somebody something we thought was funny, even though they might not think it's funny, or making a joke freely, or laughing at something, or, doing like celebrating certain things in life. Like to me, all of that is in heart combos, but I don't think that that is what the average person thinks if they've been watching my content for any period of time. So I say that to say the parallel that I've thought of recently, just because I've been working out for a whole 10 minutes, is is working out. And so you're one of the more fitness driven people that I know over the past decade and a half. And so I'm just like, hey, why not? You know what I'm saying? Like have this conversation about how heart combos are very similar to working out. You can be on one extreme of just getting your steps, counting your steps with your Fitbit, or you could be a straight up gym rat, you know, like bodybuilder status, you know? And so people are having everyday heart combos. You're already active when you're counting your steps. You're already counting the steps that just happen in everyday life. And if you're content with that, and that's where you want to be, cool. You know what I mean? But if you want different results, even though you and the gym rat probably value health, right? But just on different levels, if you want different results, then you would have to do more and be okay with what that requires. And so that's the other extreme of like, oh, you're having heart combos every single day. You're debriefing all the time. It's a culture. It's a way of life. It's not just kind of, let me count what I'm already doing. It's let me do as much as possible to get my body or the outcome that I'm looking for in this particular relationship. Right. And so let's flesh out that analogy a little bit over the next several minutes and really try to like explain this and break this down for the people.
You know, what's cool is that you already have the 4 stages of adaptation that people can relate to. And the 4 stages is when you're fit, you know, when you just know which other 4 stages you're in. And I think about heart combos and fitness that same way. There are different levels of heart conversations, which is what I just heard you saying. And there are different levels of fitness. Some people, for example, just want to be healthy. Mm-hmm. What that means is, hey, I want to eat right. I want to have a healthy lifestyle to where, you know, I get my activity in, walking the dog and taking my kids on a hike. And that's about the extent of my health. I'm not about to go to the gym and kill myself. I'm not about to try to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger or Corey Everson or whoever you want to name.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to look like a supermodel. I'm just trying to thrive and be healthy. But then there's another level where people want to be active. So it's like, healthy or not, I want to ride a bike. I want to go to the gym, or I want to go running. I want to do marathons. I want to participate in something like CrossFit, that kind of community. Like, I want to do that. But no, I don't want to be, you know, I don't want to compete in the CrossFit games. I don't want somebody taking pictures of me. I'm not trying to wear muscle shirts to the mall. Like, I'm just trying to be active.
Right.
You know, then there's that next level, which I consider the gym rat, the people who are in CrossFit, the people who go to the gym every day, the people who are not missing a day, the people who are taking the protein shakes and reading the books and, you know, all wearing the muscle shirts, and they want people to see their muscle, and they talk about it all the time. It's just like, yo, man, I don't care. Like, I love you, but I don't care. They spend an hour in the gym, 2 hours in the gym, and they come and tell you pretty much every exercise that they do. And then the fourth set of people I would consider to be people who are fit. And people who are fit at some level are within all three of those categories. They are people who don't go kill themselves in the gym for an hour, but they know, hey, if I do 30 to 35 minutes, 5 days a week of structured time where I'm decreasing rest time and increasing work time, I know I can increase productivity. I know that I can have a body that I like looking at and that other people will find to be fit. I know that I'll have the strength and the power to continue to do the things that I want to do. I'm creating a healthy lifestyle whereby I'll be able to functionally do the things that I want to do every day. So my workouts, for example, then will be doing kettlebells and stuff like that, because it helps me pick up my kids. It helps me carry groceries. You know, I'm not the gym rat in the gym putting 385 pounds on and doing it one time just to say I did. And so to me, now that I've run through those four ideas, let me run through how people do that in relationships. There are some people who just want to be healthy. They just want relationships. They really don't want them to go too deep, but they really don't want them to be shallow either. It's the type of ones that's like, I'm gonna call you on your birthday, we gonna go to lunch every once in a while. We're gonna hit each other up for Christmas. You may come to my house, you may not. When we talk to each other, it's just like we always were. It's awesome. Those people often will see what you're talking about with heart conversations and think, nah, I ain't trying to do that because that's just too difficult. Kind of like they'll look at the active people or the gym rat and just say, y'all doing too much. But at some level, their health will always have some element of dissatisfaction. Either they won't have the body that they want, or they'll want to crush some cookies every once in a while, and they'll be like, yeah, I'm gonna crush these cookies because I just went on a hike, so I can justify. So their physical health. Let me say how that looks in relationships. I just talked to this person and we talked for an hour. I ain't got to call this person for another 6 months. It's almost like, well, but you're saying you want to be healthy, but that's not really healthy. It just has the appearance of being healthy. This reminds me of the four soils in scripture. But anyway, then the people who are active, very similarly, it's like you're doing a lot of things. That's the people who in relationships are constantly doing stuff with people, but it's the people that I would say are, everybody says that person's my friend, but they wouldn't be able to tap 5 people that they would say, yes, like these are my level 5 inner circle friendships. I can go to them. I completely be myself. I don't have to think about what I'm saying. I don't have to manage what I'm saying. Active people are people who, when it comes to a healthy lifestyle, generally choose one way to do it. So it's like, I'm a runner, or I'm a biker, I'm a triathlete. No, I'm not going to go in the gym and kill myself. And so they do the same thing with relationships. It's like, I'm only going to build relationships with people who are like this, or who are like this, or who treat me this way. And then they end up missing out on what could make them the most fit. The gym rat then is the person who only focuses, we call it here the tank top workout. So like their biceps look good, their chest look good, their back look good, their legs look awesome, everything on the outside looks awesome. But then the active person goes, hey, you want to go on a run? And they're like, no, I ain't going on a run. Well, why not? Because I don't run. It's like, but I see you in the gym. I mean, I see you doing CrossFit. I see you killing you. So you can do a lot of things. But they have built they've built their body to only be able to do certain types of things that look hard, but are not functional.
Mm-hmm.
And so the people who do that in relationships are the people, in my opinion, who only talk about trauma and who only had hard conversations and who are always like, I can't do small talk. And again, I will readily admit, I'm one of those people who don't like small talk. But as I was talking to Dominique and I were talking yesterday, and I've learned to do small talk because it's beneficial.
Absolutely.
Just like stretching. I don't like stretching, but it's necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
and it's also necessary before and after really hard workouts.
That is correct. Particularly dynamic stretching and not just ballistic. But yes. But that's what I feel like the gym rat is. And so the gym rat gets bound up because they haven't really stretched enough of their relational muscle in order to take on the minor things. So they often aren't building the stabilizer muscles that would help them be able to do just everyday functional things. Mm-hmm. And they don't have the elasticity in their muscle to do those same things. And so relationally, people do the same thing. They only have these really big, hard, deep, traumatic conversations. They're always talking about the deepest, heaviest things. Mm-hmm. And so people feel like they can't even have a conversation with them. I know that there are people who are listening to this right now that are like, Pope, you like that. And it's like, at some level, I think I used to be.
Oh, for sure. I think
I'm way more balanced now than I used to be. I definitely relationally was a gym rat because, and I was at some level prior to 2012 or 13, even physically, I was a gym rat. I just wanted to go in the gym and be that dude that was strong as an ox. And now it's like, man, I don't just want strength. I want power. I don't want people to be able to look at me and say, oh, well, that dude can probably do X. And if they do, I want to be able to foster past that and relationally do the same. I don't want people to think that I'm some one-trick pony in conversations that it's like every time I talk to him, I feel like he's seeing into my soul. It's like I don't want to be that guy. I want to be able to shoot the breeze about The Last Dance just like anybody else, and I do that. I've loved being on social media because people get to see the totality of my character because they generally just see me up front. Mm-hmm. So just like when people come to camp, they're like, yo, I thought you were super serious. You're a goofball. And it's like, I've always been like, that's me. Mm-hmm. But you only see one side of me and then you pigeonhole me in that and you won't allow my character to be outside of that. Mm-hmm. And so fit people to me relationally are the people who have deep, intimate friendships where they can totally 100% be themselves. Look at pretty little girl.
It's a new book, baby.
It sure is. Look at it? And you can enjoy that, but she can't hear me. My fault.
Right. Yeah, good. Go look at it. You can go in your room and look at it. And your music's still on in your room too. she gonna make her way.
She's so awesome. Dominique and I were talking about this yesterday. There's this sense in which I have a clinical version of myself that recognizes if somebody sees the totality of me, they probably can't handle it. That doesn't make that true. What it means is sometimes in my clinical interactions with people, hey, beautiful. That girl's so cute.
She is.
So I have a clinical version of myself, and sometimes in that clinical version, I interact with people in a way that I basically have in mind, if you see the totality of who I am, you likely won't be able to handle that. And so I present myself in this clinical way. When I'm in a relationship that is super fit, right? When I'm super fit, I'm then able to just be me. I don't have to sugarcoat. I don't have to sidestep. It doesn't mean I'm not thinking about what I'm saying, but I recognize even if I'm not thinking about what I'm saying, this person will believe the best about me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, our heart conversations, our hard conversations, any conversation doesn't have to be this big, long, drawn out workout. No, in about 30 minutes, even if we have a disagreement, about 30 minutes, we can work that disagreement out because we both are interacting in a very fit and healthy way.
Mm-hmm.
So again, the necessity of filing relationships the same way, like as I personally train, even though I'm not a certified personal trainer, what I have to do is assess each person I'm training and go, hey, what is their potential? And then I have to train them according to where they are in light of their potential, not train them according to their potential. And I think that's where we mess up in relationships. We go, well, yeah, but our friendship is here, but it could be here. So I'm gonna treat you like we're here, or like I want to go here. It's like, yeah, but that person's not there yet.
Mm-hmm.
So you're training them according to their potential instead of in light of their potential.
Mm.
So the difference would be, hey, you have the potential to do 100 squats without stopping. So instead of me giving you 50 to do right now, hey, we're going to do 3 sets of 20 so that I can get you to a place where one day you'll see your potential.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm training you in light of your potential, not according to your potential.
Yeah, that's good.
But with relational, we do the same thing. And so I think what people need to recognize is sometimes we think, hey, but if you love me, you would be able to get over whatever issue you have. When it's like, that's not necessarily true. A, B, we have to understand, this is going to sound bad, but I think you understand what I'm saying. Some relationships can't be a 10, and they will never be a 10. And so we have to say, hey, I'm not pigeonholing you at a level 8, but I recognize like we won't be going past 8. You know what I'm saying? Like what we talked about in the 5 levels of friendship. It's like some people are not willing to go past 3. So you just know, all right, you know, you're going to be a compatriot and you're just going to always be a compatriot to me. You're going to always be somebody that we can bust it up about this particular topic. But other than that, like you're never going to be somebody I can confide in. And that's okay. That's where I have to file you. And people that I train, some of them, I have to just get to a point where I'm like, you know what, this may be where you want to be, but you really don't have that capacity. And since you don't have that bandwidth, this is where you actually are. So I'm gonna train you in light of where you actually are. Because if you continue to push somebody looking for a 10 relationship, when the relationship at its best, based upon who they are and based upon who you are, can be an 8, all you're doing is frustrating them and frustrating yourself. You just have to sometimes, unfortunately, take a step back and go, you know what? It seems like our relationship, a 10 is actually an 8. And so let me adjust that expectation. Let me make an 8 or 10. And now I recognize, oh, we're 10. Now, behind closed doors, that's my 8, right? But to you, because of the relationship we're in, it's a 10. And you can do that same thing relationally. You can do that same thing in fitness. It's just.
Is there something ingenuous about that? I think people ask me often, what if a person looks at me as their 10, you know, or as someone in their inner circle, but I don't think they're in my inner circle. I think that they're, you know, a compatriot or a comrade, right?
Great question.
Yeah. Is there some?
She's sniffing glue.
It's the little baby saline drops.
Oh, okay.
She's not squeezing it enough to get anything in there, but I just heard the little sit. I was like, what is she doing? Anyway, so she gonna try to open it again. So yeah, is there something ingenious about that? Like when a person perceives your relationship as like an inner circle, but it's not reciprocal, you know? And if so, if it's not ingenuous, does it have to be made known? Because you just said just now, like, hey, well, I know that to me you're an 8, but as far as like the way we engage, like we're a 10. So would it be something? What does a person do with that? You know, say, hey, you're like in my inner circle. And it's like, yeah, like, thank you. Like, cool. You know, like, or do you have to be like, well, I'm in your inner circle, but you're not in mine. Does that make sense what I'm asking?
Oh, absolutely. You know, I don't ever think a person has to communicate who is in their inner circle or not to an individual unless they specifically ask. But like if somebody, why not?
Yeah. Why would you say that?
Um, the same reason as a trainer, if somebody I'm training doesn't ask where they are, if I know for a fact that where they think they are is different than where they are, I'm not trying to crush their spirit for no reason, because I wouldn't know whether or not they were ready to hear that. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a level of wisdom in relationships where you're not trying to crush somebody for no reason. And again, there's never really a reason to crush somebody. But what I'm saying is, if somebody says, prime example, a friend of mine once communicated to me that a friend of his told him that I was his mentor, like I was his friend's mentor. And so that was a shock to me. At that moment, instead of me calling that dude and saying, hey, dog, I ain't your mentor, what I did is communicated to this person who is my friend, hey, that's not the nature of the relationship. I have never communicated that. That person has never communicated that interest to me. So instead of me going and just saying, hey, I'm not your mentor, which again, to me, would crush that person, what I would do instead is communicate to my friend a level of authenticity in relationship with him that's like, hey, that's not the nature of my relationship with this other individual that we are mutually friends with. But I think what I did in both relationships is maintained a level of security that doesn't alienate either one of them. It just communicates, this is where I am.
Yeah, I've done that in the past and really hurt people by, them communicating. Hold on. There you go.
Can you put that on?
Yeah, I can. I've done that in relationships before where I have told people that we weren't friends. And that has been extremely damaging. No good has ever come from that. Like if a person's like, hey, we're definitely like, we're friends, I can say it for all that kind of stuff. And then me insisting that we're not, because at the time I wasn't really modeling the friendship tiers. And
Right.
in my mind, I was like, no, because our relationship don't look like these other people's relationship that
Right.
I have, where I definitely would say that we're friends. So I'm just going to say that we're not friends. You know what I mean? And that has been detrimental, has cost me relationships, and has done a lot of damage. And so I don't have the perfect formula of, like if a person considers you a friend, like I think that's okay. I would almost say it's okay. Like, in order for a man to gain friends, he must show himself friendly, I think is the verse. And so it implies like a process, like I've shown myself friendly to you, you know what I mean? And so you might look to me then as a friend, if in turn you show yourself friendly to me, like I might then consider you a friend, does that make sense?
Absolutely. So, and again, I wouldn't say this is a perfect formula, but I would say this is one of the ways that you can interact with somebody. And there are a ton of people who would say, yeah, T.Pope is my friend. Instead of me going, yo, you not my level 5 in a circle, I basically go, yeah. And if somebody would say, hey man, you're being disingenuous, like that's not genuine, that's not honest. Yeah, it is honest, because friend is a long-standing, like big, expansive word. And so that being the case, if that person said to me, I'm in T.Pope's inner circle, then I go, well, what makes you say that? Instead of just crushing them, I go, well, what makes you say that? Why do you think that's what it is? Because what they may mean is he's in mine, not I'm in his. And so while it sounds really annoying, I just think in conversations, miscommunication happens because we're so afraid to nuance the conversation to have mutual understanding. Like people talk about communication and how dope and how necessary communication is. Communication is only as good as there is mutual understanding. If there's not mutual understanding, then communication can kick rocks. So when we talk to each other, when we talk about each other, we really have to understand, what are you saying about me? Do I agree with that statement? Because if I don't agree with that statement, we first have to settle that before we can keep moving. And so that's why I would say, if I know my relationship with this person can't go past a certain level, Now I adjust my expectations and call that relationship an 8 for me, but a 10 for them. They don't need to hear that. Like, I ain't measuring it in front of them, right? But I recognize, okay, this relationship will go no further. If that person decides to or begins to express interest in it going any further, but I know that they don't have that capacity, I don't need to shoot them down and go, well, no, you ain't got the capacity or the bandwidth to go that much further. No, all I can do is say, okay, great. How would you like to see that move forward? That's where people say the conversation becomes hard, because now we're talking about expectations. And in a lot of relationships, a lot of people don't think about expectations. Well, you don't when you're healthy, and you don't when you're active, right? You don't have to think about expectations. When you're a gym rat, you know, I'm going to go put in an hour and 45 minutes. I'm going to do what I'm used to. I'm just going to get the results. So I'm going to look like what I want to look like, and we keep it pushing. But when you fit, it's like, no, like, I know what each workout is doing, and I know what I have capacity to do, and I know what I don't have capacity to do. It'd be stupid for me to go, all right, we're about to do 300 burpees in 12 minutes. Like, I'm not about to do that, because I already know I don't have the bandwidth to complete that. Somebody else might. That's not me. And so I think in relationships, if people really begin to know themselves, just like in fitness, if you know your body really well, you can train your body really well. If you don't know your body, unfortunately, what you're going to do is train your body according to what somebody else's body looks like. Like, you're going to look at somebody in some magazine and say, I want to look like that. You may not even have the capacity to look like that. So that's really pointless to measure yourself against if you don't have that capacity. And vice versa. You might have more capacity than the person you're looking at. But because you got that archetype in your mind, now you're going to build yourself according to that. And that's not as good as knowing who you are.
Yeah, and I think it's really a work of trying to empower people to just do. Don't stand on that, baby.
You want me to?
I can open it.
Don't freeze me with stuff.
I can as soon as I'm finished with this call. I think it really is a process of empowering people to kind of see their own potential, to stop always chasing like relationship goals or friendship goals, you know, but to figure out like, hey, what do you bring to the table that makes you most uniquely you, and, you know what I'm saying, like, causes you to thrive. And, you know, what I think it's okay for people to be inspired, you know what I'm saying, like, by things. Like, people look at, here you go, babe. People look at an Arnold Schwarzenegger or somebody who's fit and it's like, man, I want arms like that. I want traps like that. I want whatever, you know. And maybe it pushes them and it motivates them, right? To see something further than you is what, or better than you know what I'm saying, or that has achieved, someone who has achieved more than you. It's the whole structure of a mentor, you know what I'm saying? Or,
right.
And so you want that. It's something to aspire, but not losing yourself in the process. And
right.
Knowing like, hey, I will aspire and attain not them, but a level of
me,
right?
The best level of me. You're exactly
the best
right.
level of me. Yeah, that's great. Great wording.
Yeah. This is a broad conversation.
Very.
But I think it hits on a lot of things. Here's an example. People talk about who the next Michael Jordan is, right? For example. Well, the reason that's an unfair question to anybody coming after him is because something made him. And you can't replicate what made him in the same exact way, because you're living in a different time in a different world. I was listening to an interview by Steve Kerr yesterday, and he said, you know, the crazy thing is, or Rachel Nichols, who was interviewing him, said, I just can't imagine in today's world the best player in the league saying, I'm not going to play for any other coach, and a GM saying, hey, you're gone next year no matter what. And Steve Kerr said, well, you got to remember at that time, in this time, once that was said, it would be tweeted about, and that would be retweeted and retweeted, and then they'd have a show just about what was tweeted. But at that time, like, that was one interview that happened on cable. Not everybody even had cable. So you didn't even know that happened. Whereas now, I mean, a celebrity can sneeze on somebody in Nicaragua, and you're going to hear about that the day, like 2 minutes after they do it. And so it's an unfair question to ask who's going to be the next Michael Jordan because you can't replicate that. Well, guess what? We do the same thing in relationships. I want a relationship like, and then we name these people, and it's like, but look at what created the relationship they have. People do it in marriages. I want to have a marriage like, it's like, but what created that type of marriage, you may not even have, first of all, you may not have that same capacity. But secondly, what made that marriage, you may not even have the same triggers, catalysts. Like, you know, there are people who have said to Kendra and I, man, I feel like y'all marriage is so strong and I want a marriage like y'all's. It's like, but please understand, like some of the things that have contributed to the marriage we have was her losing her virginity when she was 16 and her boyfriend then dying. Like her dad not being around all her life and then disowning her because I'm Black. You know, me being addicted to pornography for 2 years. I got saved at a young age, but then my parents weren't around, like because they were always at church. And so I'm saying some of these, then we have a special needs child, and you know, all of the divorce has been a part of her story, you know, and so I'm just like, there are so many factors that we have 7 kids, we have a special needs child, like you, if you want the same type of relationship we have, so much has gone into that. Then when you talk about the capacity of the different types of people that we are, you know, Kendra is very much a small talk person, doesn't enjoy deep, heavy conversations, you know, and I enjoy deep, heavy conversations, and I'm less of a small talk person. And so these two people come together. So our capacity for conversation even has had to change over the last 13 years. So for people to say, I want a relationship like that, it's like, I appreciate I get, like you said, there's a beauty in inspiration, but not everybody is built to have the same, like I tell people, LeBron James ain't even got the same mentality as Michael Jordan. Michael thrived on people telling him he couldn't do something. Kobe thrived on people telling him he couldn't do something. That's just not who LeBron is. That's not who Kevin Durant is. That's not who Stephen Curry is. Like very few players thrive on being told they can't do something. But in that era, early 90s for us, Chris Johnson and I were talking about this the other day, that was what it was. Like, unfortunately, generations before us almost made it a sport to tell kids they weren't going to be nothing or that they couldn't do that. It's like, who do you think you are? And so in our brain, we always had a chip on our shoulders. I still got a chip at some level. But those kind of traumatic experiences are what help create what you see today. I think about it like superheroes. Like the trauma is what created Batman. So if you want to be Batman, you got to have a trauma. Oh, you don't want the trauma? Well, you can't be Batman. Like that's what made it. And relationships work that same way. Some of the deepest, most intimate relationships are born out of the deepest, most hurtful situations. So it's like, if you don't want the hurtful situation, it's hard to get that deep of a relationship. So anyway, I say the same thing. It relates to sports, gym, all of that. Relationships are like that. To aspire to be like somebody that you see, you have to know, do I have the capacity for that kind of relationship? And if you don't, you need to adjust your expectations.
For sure. Yeah, I get a lot of that now. I talked to a girl yesterday, one-on-one, and talking about her story. And I was like, yeah, the only reason I'm able to really have heart combos the way that I am and can even like the way that heart combos is completely set up, I was like, it's all completely gospel centered. It's the way that you, like the whole format is built on the way that I came into intimacy, you know what I'm saying? Like in my friendships, but that had to do with my story. It had to do with my offense and my brokenness and all of those types of things. And so I'm just really trying to duplicate or replicate really that process in the way that I do heart combos for other people. Right. This is the only way people can get to an end. It's just one way. And I think people who find themselves in the place that I was in really resonate with my content.
Right.
And so a lot of people who have a similar story, or like, yeah, I was trash, or just find themselves being a certain type of person who really cling to what I do. And I'm like, and that it's intentional in that way. I can't speak to everybody, but you know, like people who can relate, it's like, yeah, this is good for you. You know what I mean? Right. Like this works for you. You really resonate with it. But you won't necessarily be where I am. You probably will surpass me. You know what I'm saying? And as I talk about different relationships that I've had over the years, to your point, it's like, listen, these people have, before I was heart combos, because people just sometimes refer to me as heart combos. Oh, it's heart combos. Before I was heart combos, like these people had to do life with me before I was debriefing and confessing and all that stuff. They had to deal with the crap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's really what made the strength of our relationship now, to where I can use it as an example in my content.
Right.
You don't want that. I don't want that for you.
Right.
You get to be like, I want you to have your own journey. You know what I'm saying? Like, and to really surpass me, to go beyond what I've done. So yeah, I think that's good.
That's the
Really,
after
really
shot.
good.
That's the after shot. The after shot.
What is that?
You watch an infomercial and they show you what Vanessa looked like after she went through P90X.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they show you the before, but then they show you the after, and she walk around after, and you see her fit, and you're like, man, I want a body like that. It's like, but you got to understand, this is where Vanessa was. This is where Chris was. This is where these people were prior to doing this program. And then you start reading the bottom of that screen, and that screen say stuff like, this is Vanessa's third time completing the program. And you're like, oh, snap. So to get Vanessa's body, like, I got to actually, go through something. The second part of that, that is really unique is people think that being overweight or out of shape happened overnight. And so they just like, yeah, I can get this off like quick. It's like, you did not get unhealthy overnight. And people think the same thing in friendship. Just like, no, we just need to have this big, long, hard conversation. It's like, well, did your friendship become trash over a big, long, hard conversation? No, it progressively became trash. As you stopped being yourself, you stopped being honest, you didn't address the elephant in the room, you weren't your most authentic self, you didn't have any realistic expectations that were expressed, agreed upon, and then ultimately lived. Like real expectations, you didn't have them. And so if your relationship has been 10 years spanning long and you've never really addressed the health of your relationship, the activity of your relationship, the fitness of your relationship, the exercise of your relationship, the education of your relationship, the eating habits and digestive nature of your relationship, I don't know why people all of a sudden think, yeah, we had this big, long, hard conversation and we'll be ready to go. It's like, no, because it didn't get progressively, it progressively became trash. It didn't become trash in one day. So to your point, and I agree with you 1,000,000%, people are looking at you now and they're seeing the after, because they don't really get to see the before picture. They get to hear the before stories, you know what I mean? But they don't get to see all of the process that it took. They're hearing you say what we read at the bottom of the screen on a P90X or a Morning Meltdown 100 commercial. Like, this is Kristen's 18th time completing the, you know what I mean? Like, they don't get all that you've been through. They just get, oh, I wish I had the type of relationship she has. And people do it with Biggest Loser. It's like, y'all know these people still got to work out though, right? Like, it's not like Kristen now all of a sudden doesn't have any other issues in any relationships. No, she still has to be working out. She still fights with her husband. Like, there's still issues to work out. She still craves like shallow relationships, just like we all do. Just like fit folk crave potato chips. It is what it is. I want to eat sweet potato pie just like anybody else. I say no to a lot of desserts. People think I hate desserts. No, I love them. I just know if I get started, it's going to be a while for your boy quit. I mean, I'm going to eat a whole package of cookies. I'm going to eat. So, for my dessert, I'm taking in yogurt and granola. I'm doing, graham crackers and peanut butter with an apple just to get my fix. And I think that when people begin to understand it in relationships, it's like, oh, I don't have to just have big, hard, traumatic conversations or just shallow talking, shooting the breeze all the time. Sometimes I can just be in the middle. I've had a really hard day and, I'm ready to go to sleep and I might be erring on the side of depression, but overall, I mean, I'm doing well. Like, that's okay to say. And if somebody pushes past that, they push past it. If you're in counseling and you haven't had some deep revelation, but you're like, no, I'm in counseling, I'm just learning, I need to be myself more. I need to speak of my needs more.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody looks at you and says, well, what do you need right now? It's okay to say, I don't know, I haven't thought about it.
Right.
Whereas cats feel like at that time, okay, now I gotta dig deep and figure out what the need is. Or they go, man, I don't want to have this conversation right now, so I'm just going to try to give you something. It's like, right. Honest.
This is good. I feel like it's it really is an entire series. But again, I think to the person's question of, do I have to have these conversations or how often do I need to have them? I think the short answer for me is it depends on what kind of results you're looking for,
Right.
and encourage them that, hey, you are having heart combos every day on some level. But if you for real want to see growth and intentionality and habits built in your life around being vulnerable and all of that stuff and being honest, and you have to be in the habit of having heart combos, not just about really deep hard things, but also just about your everyday things, so um so yeah, this is good.